This is something that we have been doing for a while, right? So this is the third or fourth roundup, and usually what we do is we pick up a topic, and then we pick up. The panel is also so much ad hoc, but have confidence that they'll be able to answer all our questions, right? So I just told literally, right? I just told Mukesh, Vikas, Avi, and Abbas that I'm going to pick your brains on a topic called as scaling challenges with Postgres, and what are some of the solutions that you have, right? I don't even need to say how important this topic is, right? Let's just start with your introductions, starting from Avi. What we would like to see or what we would like to learn is your introduction, obviously, what you are doing. And if you are working in an environment, in a customer-facing environment, or be it product or services, how are you solving the scalability problems? And then pick up any use cases and stuff as part of your introduction, and then I'll chime in with my questions in a due course.
Absolutely. Thank you again. So I think most of us has attended the talk. So I'm Avi. Again, I'm the founder and CEO of HexaCluster, and thank you, Hari, and everybody for organizing this and making this happen. So talking about the scaling challenges, right? So I think one of the so there are two scenarios to look at, right? So it is about at the point of beginning of product development, or the start of the development of an application, and at the same time scaling the application when the demand for the application grows, and the nature of the application, the usage of the application starts growing. So most of the times, scaling is one of the things that I feel that is not one of the things that people think from design perspective in the beginning, right? So there are always challenges in future scaling because of some of the design decisions that have been taken in the early days of the application development. So most of the times we see scaling database as scaling the database only from database point of view, right? And it's always challenging, or not everybody would be able to look at it from the application perspective. So I think most of the times when such scaling issues come up, right, be it in the design stage or in the future stage, or which is basically an already built application.
I'd like to piggyback on that question in just a moment. If
Sure.
You can hand it over to Abbas. Say your introduction, and then what are some of the data sets you are working on. Most of the folks know you are at NIC, and tons and tons of data is something that you guys deal with day in and day out.
So hi, I'm Abbas, and I'm working with NIC, and I'm also a PG Meet founder in this, along with Hari and Rajesh. And I have vast 15 years of experience in Postgres, and from the last couple of years, I have been handling 30 plus terabytes of data, which is having whole country's data in India. So we usually regarding the scaling, we used to have 1+2 servers, which will serve all over the India. So we have total 1,200 plus RTOs along all over the India, and along with that we have citizen services also. So usually we used to have a couple of issues and very huge load average on the servers, and then we split servers from 1+2 to 1+5. After that we have able to serve the purpose. And regarding the scalability in this case, as Avi said, it should be taken care at the time of design, right? So because after such a point of time, if you want to scale some particular part of the data instead of whole data, so you can't vary separate or divide the data to distribute that for the various regions. So in that case, design whenever we are designing a table or database, we should keep in mind that it should be scalable at any point of time, right? And apart from that, the other thing is the main scalability issues. When will it will occur? That's a point. So that we find those issues that my database needs scalability now. So this point will arise when you have a load issues on the server, right? So to avoid such kind of things, before doing scalability, I recommend you to go to the, whatever the application is connecting, how it is connecting. In my case, I can say first selecting one page. If my application is loading one page and they are connecting 100 connections to the database. So that is not at all acceptable for DB. So these kind of scenarios need to be taken care before sorting out any scaling operations.
That's experience talking, I would say. Yeah.
My name is Mukesh Marodia. I'm part of Google GCP Cloud SQL database team. I'm product manager. My focus area is observability for databases and AI in databases. Now, in terms of scalability or scale, I think Google has been designing system for planet scale. And at GCP, we are creating the products which could help our customer build those planet scale platform. But I think just thinking about planet scale is one part. Other part which is very important in scalability is understanding that you might need to start very small. So scaling down is equally important, or being able to grow, or like not over provision so that you would run out of your money tap is important, right? And when to turn on the tap and turn off the tap is important. As you highlighted, like my area of focus is how to make observability real time, granular, and self-sufficient and like assisted. And that's a core part of scalability, I believe. While people may not think observability as part of scalability, but if you are able to understand what's going on in the system, you could make those decisions faster and better.
Not working.
No, it's working. Thanks, everyone, and hello, everyone. And I am Vikas. I have been into AWS for last 5 years, working with various customers, mostly on migration side. But prior to that, I have experience on application designing from database perspective, and working in different financial companies, right, where we have plethora of bulk of data. So I take scalability in two parts. One is scalability from your application point of view, where you want to scale your application and you want to scale your database as well, accordingly to support that load. And then there is a different side of it, which is administrative scalability, right? BAU, making sure HADR and all those kind of stuff is also taken care. And as Mukesh also pointed out, observability, right? To make sure things are running fine, things are running in right shape, because once there will be a scale, there are a lot of things that you have to tackle and handle. So that's why you need monitoring. I give you some examples how things fail. For example, one of the thing is how database replicate. It's very basic. In layman's terms, is whatever write or update inside deletes are happening, it will be written in your transaction log, and checkpoint will happen, and it will write to your disk. Now this disk is getting replicated to active or standby server and whatever, right? So those servers are getting updated at the same time, but checkpoints are happening, and there is a bug got hit in database, and those standbys are not getting updated. So suddenly there happens a production issue, and they say like, oh, let's move to that standby, and we find like my standby is 2 months old, because the observability was not there. They had all the settings available in for their scalability point of view, but it didn't work, right? So we have to think when we are thinking for database scalability, and the problem with database when we are referring, it's mostly RDBMS, and it is constrained by ACID, and that also is a bigger challenge, because whenever whenever you have multi-cluster or a multi-node system, how the transaction will propagate and all those kind of stuff, comes into picture, and that creates problem for your scalability, right? And that's why a lot of those solutions, multi-write, multi-read, and now when the cloud has come into picture, you can see serverless, limitless, and many other options for those scalability solutions are also available. So, and I would also like to extend Avi's point that when you are designing your application, you have to think how the RDBMS or database in practical actually scales, and why it scales, and what is the dimension in which it will scale, right? So because ACID will try to keep it as low in transactions, then higher is the performance of your database. So we have to think in that perspective. So I give you another example from my past is, some people design a database for their application because they came from front end side, so they accordingly thought for that, okay, we need for this screen these many fields, so they created one table for this field, this page, this field. So if you look from database books perspective, they created a what we call is multi-column tables, right, where same data getting repeated in the same table, right? Sorry, multiple columns, right? And what happened is, like they, after a certain point in time, they started facing those normalization issues and all those kind of basic book problem, because there was no database person in that team or expert to just highlight, okay, you're creating in the right manner what you need, but it should not be in like that manner. There is a primary key concept, there is a foreign key concept. Keep small, keep your things simple. They did the POC happened with 100.
That is kind of a human scalability problem that we are hitting, right? I don't think none of us will be able to find a solution for a human scalability. Let's just stick to the Postgres side of the story now. If you can pass it to Avi, please. Avi, you have been doing migrations for a great amount of time, right? If when you work with customers and then you talk about Oracle scales at length, Oracle does this, Oracle does that. What is that one USP of Postgres or one challenge of Postgres that would alleviate? I mean, if customer alleviates, what is that one problem that customer alleviates and says, no, Avi, we don't have this in Postgres, and what is your solution to that? From a scalability standpoint, there are tons of other aspects when it comes to migration, right? From a scalability standpoint, what is it that you keep hitting from customers, and how do you work around that? How do you resolve that?
Yeah, I think one of the funniest answers that I can give is that Postgres is not supported by Oracle support, right? So that's one of the major challenges that customer always talks about, who supports Postgres. But other than that, keeping it to the perspective of scalability, I would say that with most of the migrations experience and how we even made those migrations successful, performance optimization, right, I think is something that's done over a period of time on their existing databases, right? If there is one of the databases that is being migrated from Oracle or SQL Server to Postgres, because Oracle, as an example, Oracle Optimizer is wonderful, right? Oracle not only has got a little bit around the ANSI SQL and has non-ANSI compliant SQL, but other than that, some of the bad SQLs can also perform the best, and you also have the ability to create plan hashes, and you can force a plan. There are some of the functionalities that you can do with Oracle, which is not possible with Postgres, right? Because that was done over a period of time. Customers face such challenges, because all of the design issues or the bad SQL issues, some of these application level challenges which were not addressed in the past, but were addressed with the Oracle database through some of those features, right? When customers start looking at those issues in Postgres, they find that yes, Postgres is not able to scale. So it again is something where we need to spend some time and optimize Postgres. Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody want to comment on what Avi said?
Yeah, I think we talked about like what Oracle has and Postgres doesn't have. I think to our biggest advantage, Postgres has this big library of extension available to us for lot of the scalability issues, right? It requires expertise to understand which one to use for which use cases. I think that part is hard part, but I think the community is great and it's able to create so many extensions. Like for example, I've not heard a customer not using PG1. Right? That is getting so heavily used for read replica maintenance. So I think that part is really amazing in Postgres. Other part is like just to answer who will support Postgres. I think that problem is solved in this and like Avi is in that business and like we are all
Everybody's
enjoying that business, right? And that is a great career. And I think I will suggest people take advantage of the cloud providers which are available and tool providers which are available, expertise which are available, right? While you need to learn to stack the whole thing from the beginning as a college project or as a school project, but if you are doing enterprise project, you better take advantage of the work which is done by big enterprises already, and it actually works out. The total TCO is always lower when you take advantage of somebody's 10 years of work or 20 years of work and you get to that platform very easily.
Cool. Abbas, now the question, I mean, you guys have now scalability issues yourselves. You guys have scalability issues for dinner, lunch, and breakfast, right? Because you are managing the whole nation's data. To put things into perspective, when you guys work with government organizations, government entities, right? What are some of the challenges that you would see, convincing them to go from one version to another version, right? To go from one legacy version to a latest and greatest versions, right? What are some of the things that you would handle?
Yeah. So in government organizations, they won't fastly move to new versions. So for example, now 18 is going to come, right? And 17 is already in the production phases. And frankly speaking, we are still on 11.
End of life.
Yeah.
That's why you have job.
Okay, and from the last couple of years, I am pushing them to move to at least 15 at the time, but still they were not ready to move to 15 because they have some challenges. Even the application is in the very old Java version because they were not able to apply the patches in the operating system also. So there are most legacy systems which I'm handling right now, and and the data is very huge because we have documented data and images. So all will be maintained in Postgres only, and that to 11 version. And so the challenges they were actually not very ready to move very fastly, and we have to convince them, and we have to use only open source tools. So we can't go any for Google or AWS to use that.
Right.
So yeah, right now we don't have any issues even if we have UL for 11, we are able to manage, and we're going to shift to 16 very soon. And yeah, that's it. No other problems.
So let me piggyback that same question in a more the other side of it, the flip of the coin, because if I may. So you have worked in the cloud ecosystem for a great amount of time. When you are talking to customers who are in an end-of-life system or relatively old versions, right? How do you talk to customers and then say, hey, some of the scalability challenges that you are having. So what is your way or approach of identifying some of the scalability challenges that the customer may or may not be aware of, and how do you say that, for this challenge, some of the cloud services, whether it is RDS for Postgres or Google for Cloud SQL, whatever, right? So how do you look at that? How does that conversation flow through?
Yeah. So this conversation is always tough because unlike government, even in other sectors also, legacy system movement is always a tough job. Not because they just don't want to move, because there are multiple other liabilities, testing phases, getting the financial things in place. But the thing is, if you are putting right options to them, right, in terms of how it is going to better your economics, better your scalability, and how it is going to cater much better customers to them, right? So that pitch, when you go with economics of scale and how their availability on the customer side or their customer side will become better, they definitely take a call, right? And as migrations or upgrades are always costly affair, so they definitely take a time, but it's easy to move because the way cloud sphere is coming up with new options, definitely they see a lot of options. So for example, I say some time back serverless database was not available. Now it is available, and this really helps them because their dev activities increases because of that. So for example, like I have 3 teams. Now they were sharing the same database, so they have to wait like this will be completed and then they will move. Now they have serverless option. They can spawn it for the daytime and then crash it out or close that up. So that increases their move towards that, and that enhances their economics because now teams are more productive in those sense. So these are the pitches that we make, and generally they come prepared like what are the things if these are going to be the pivotal point, they pivot on that one. But definitely it goes higher up, and a lot of discussion happens around that. Right. But yes, these new product definitely helps in that manner.
Yeah, so Mukesh, I mean, you've been a product manager at Google, you are at Google now, right? So how do you deal with this when you are saying, this is the ecosystem that you are currently at, right? And showcase that whether the customer is 11 or 12 or some of the versions that we are talking about which are end of life, right? Does Google support these versions from an observability standpoint? First question. Second is, if it does support, how do you convince the customer to go to the latest and greatest? What kind of a product manager discussions that you would have with respect to the scalability aspect?
Yeah, I think if that makes you feel any better, enterprises are still using mainframe, and they will continue to use mainframe.
Yeah, that would make Avi a little happy because he's got more customers now.
Not at Google. In my past company, I used to run this product which basically creates intranet for companies. So one of the biggest bank in the world was managing their internet. 500,000 people log into their internet every day to get their work done, right? And this bank says we will not upgrade to the latest browser because that browser cannot be rolled out in all our devices, and that rollout will take 3 years. And that browser is not supported by Microsoft. Okay, there was only browser at that time. That version of browser is not supported. I'm like, there is no way I can support this browser, and like there are security bugs. You are a bank in the browser. Like, how can you? They're like, okay, do whatever, because this migration and rollout is going to cost us $20 million. Okay, like say X million dollar, and we are ready to spend that money. Okay, I think that is the trick to understand there is always a cost and benefit which people are evaluating, right? And there is always an inertia for change as human being, and enterprises have lot of other priority. They have X amount of budget. Will they do the next AI ML project or migrate some legacy to something else? That is like, don't touch it if it is not broken, right? But we need to show what is the cost of not touching. Okay, we still support, like I think Postgres till 12, not 11 in our cloud environment, right? But some of the availability feature, if I am building, I cannot have the full features on version 12. It has to be on some of the latest version only, because the telemetry data in that versions are not available. And the cost benefit for customer has to be very clear. They are not operated by any other whims or fancy that, okay, I have Mukesh here, he need to work on the latest tools and technology. They have a business, they have a shareholder who they are accountable for profitability, right? So I think it has to translate into the core tangible business benefit, right? As I was talking about, you need to help them make that case. And like if you are stuck in some legacy, work on how moving to that new platform is going to help in terms of, sometimes it could be compliance could be a big mover, right, that you will have a data breach, or how you will save the money is very important, right? So that is how it is always done. Some of the vendor will also price their legacy support higher, like I know Oracle used to do that.
Still does it?
Yeah, if it's still a very old version, they will charge like support prices 2x, 3x, right? That put the cost on the customer to like really migrate to the newer version. And I think as a career, we owe it to ourselves to justify a different level, whatever level we are in, to move to the latest technology. I've been driving a car for like last 15 years. I never felt a need to change, but I bought a car recently and I felt like, okay, what I was driving was like a piece of junk because things have changed so much, right? So I think it's onus is on us as a professional, on whatever little influence we have, to use that so that we can help our companies make that right choice of technology by showing the cost benefit analysis.
Absolutely. You spoke my mind. I mean, I'll open up to the audience if you guys have any questions. Now, you guys know what are their strengths, what are their competencies. If there is any question in the audience, before I ask my, go ahead.
I have one question. So as like we are integrating the number of like models, right, when we are training and when we are like translating, right? So like I have one query, when we are using a postgres, like can we like integrate the models compared to Oracle, we have vector search engine. So Oracle 23 they have released vector search engine, where is the data type. When we are creating the table, we can create the vector data type. So that basically it will keep the track of all some auto optimizations and auto indexing part. So like that, the specific things that can we create some functionalities in Postgres, and can we integrate with those things? As there are a lot of libraries that we are talking about, like some developer tracks, when we're coming to as a DBA, at least a customer definitely expects some of the optimization techniques that need to be performed from DB. So however, some of the how like AI can automate some DBA challenges in optimization perspective and auto scaling. So if you talk about the auto scaling, like there are some resource limits. So if their bulk loads are running, then definitely the query will eat up the query memory, prospective memory. So can we restrict the memories? Can we like scale up the memories like auto? So to avoid some issues, outages kind of a thing.
So I have like 4 or 5 questions in Pawan's thing. But if I say, summarize the question, do you have an automated DBA?
It's not automated, some kind of functionalities.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of libraries which I like talk about in our session. So I just.
So there are like, I think as Hari mentioned, there are multiple layers of the question. First part is like when somebody says, okay, I have this vector indexing or vector search available in any database. Does PG have it? I think there is no depth of what PG can do in terms of supporting a vector or a RAG application, and you don't need to necessarily use a cloud hosted database. You can get like PG vector, PG ML, so many other extensions we talked about, which could work natively even though you are hosting on your laptop. So those are available, but again you will get much fine tuner version of it when we are using some of the hosted services, right? Coming to the next part, like your part, is there a AI database assistant?
Database kind of a thing.
Yeah,
Some of
is
them-
available. So we actually announced AI assisted troubleshooting yesterday night, like today morning, early morning, in our Google Cloud Next. The session is live. People can watch that. This is in preview. So it's not a chatbot, but it's a assisted experience for database available, which basically tells you that this query is suddenly becoming slow from what it was running in last 1 month, or like this hour it has become slow. You can say that, yeah, I want to analyze it. It will walk you through a process of analyzing different situations based on certain evidences, and it will tell you like, okay, this could be the case and this is the recommendation, right? You can choose to apply that recommendation. Basically it is making the job of the DBA easier. What we are seeing customer telling us is it's not only making the job of the DBA easier. DBA is a very scarce resource. They want to build the next big RAG application for AI. They don't want to debug this legacy application which is running and suddenly becoming slow. Developers are now becoming full stack developers, right? They own end-to-end, front-end, back-end, everything. That's when you see like we are creating sub-optimized database, right? So this is helping those developers also to own full end-to-end. Don't need to go to like a DBA for every issue, and they're able to optimize and get to that. So that like these type of tools are starting to come, and more of those tools will come. I think there are few questions which I could not answer. Or like, can we scale up, scale down? I think.
Yeah, I think regarding
Yeah.
So regarding the 23 AI coming up with the vector support, and you said that you can now store vectors in Oracle. Yeah, one of the things is that PG vector extension for Postgres, right? This was active, much active with a great amount of support for storing vectors, for more than 2 years now. And at the same time, while PG vector initially supported, different index types like IVF Lite, AVF Flat, as well as HNSW, right? IVF Flat and HNSW initially, but you would have heard about another extension from Timescale called PG Vector Scale, right? Which again come up with the discan method, right? So there are great because it's a wider community, like Mukesh mentioned, right? There is a lot of scope for Postgres to go much bigger than Oracle in this space, right? So there are a lot of these communities who are already doing a great amount of work. And if you look at what are the 23 AI features, and if you try to see are there any extensions that are giving me something similar to or better than that, you'll find all of those already in the Postgres community.
Yeah, I would also like to add. Like,
Yeah, good.
My gut feeling is like as more AI, ML, Gen AI things are maturing, you will see more and more things getting embedded into RDBMS also, where there will be two points. One, Avi was saying like no SQL is bad SQL. That will be first thing, because you are getting stuck or your SQLs are not running because somehow it is not working. What if SQLs do not get stuck? That is one thing. And with the advent of more Gen AI solutions, I'm sure like some LLMs or some model will come which will try to solve this problem. Already cloud providers have started solving in some manner or the other. right? And I think I'm more positive towards Postgres because it's open source. Code is, in front of you. You can scale it very easily. You can add more extension rather than closed source databases, because they have to work on this particular problem area to embed that, and they have to expose what they are actually doing behind the scene. However, in Postgres it is visible to everyone. You like it, you use it, or if you don't like it, there are other options you do it via extension. So I think on Postgres side, we see more acceleration of these kind of things coming, in much better way to reduce this pain point, because almost all enterprises have databases running behind the scene, and I do not see any discussion happening there. I want to move away from mainframe, but I don't want to move away from RDBMS. In fact, if you see, those big data platform is coming back to this asset. They started, we don't want to move, don't want to have these asset because this restricts our scalability and all those kind of stuff. But now they simply, SQLs, came into that picture. Then they are also, including the ACID properties. So ultimately, that is also becoming the same thing. So this data platform will definitely have more options in terms of AI ML solution, predicting more problem areas and
Cool.
reducing that work.
Good. One final nail in the coffin question. Good, if you want to add.
So if you observe history of Postgres, in early 2000, there was no replication, if you know. So we used to have Slowly, so which is a trigger-based replication. Slowly they adopt standby. That is only for as a backup. There means it won't be in read access also. There won't be any read access to the server, right? That is also in the early 2000s. So after that, in 9 they introduced hot standby and streaming replication. Slowly the community is very vast in Postgres. So they're slowly adopting all the features which are even developed by the enterprise editions. They're slowly coming up with the vanilla Postgres also. So even as they already said, Postgres is a very vast, is open source. So if we know anything, we can. If we want to add something to the Postgres, we can do that. So it's open for all. Thank you.
Yeah, the final question I have is, all four of you take less than a minute to say. How do you make a win-win situation, right? For the customer, for the end user, for the application developer, for the platform developer, and the whole of infrastructure, be it cloud or hybrid or whatever, right? How do you make it a win-win situation? What is your suggestion or a recommendation? How do you make it a win-win situation from a scalability standpoint? What is that one mantra that you would recommend folks?
I will simply say stick to basics in the designing of the database. So that will solve all the problems.
Stick to basics of the database
Designing.
from a model
Designing, yeah.
and infra, everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the finally always missed is understanding, design patterns majorly, right? Implementing the right design patterns. That is extremely important. And only when we design applications and we understand, we look at those scalability problems, we, again, with experience, we understand the mistakes. And I think this is very important. So it's not always about, there are amazing extensions and a lot of nice features which can do great things if we are able to use those features for scaling, but not to fix a problem, right? So, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I was quite impressed by like a college student, final student coming and pitching us how to use OLTP and OLAP using PG, right? So that is the power of PG. So we should clap for him. Yeah. Being said that, I think like if a final year college student can do that much research and come up with a solution, I think my suggestion is don't reinvent the wheel, but make cars from that. Wheels are already invented by a lot of people in this community, and lot more type of wheels will get made. So take advantage of what is available and like do that due diligence, as you said, like design and think what you need to design for today and future, and I think that's it for me.
Well, I will also resonate with them, and I would say like for scalability, think is you want to scale, right? You think in long term. How do you want to scale? Where do you see your application, or how do you want to scale your application, right? If you are just solving the problem for right now, maybe you'll not be able to scale. But if you think from longer perspective, keep things simple, keep things look at the things available in, as Mukesh said, like there are already things available, or don't reinvent. Just look around you and you will get the solutions around, available. Implement in a right sense that you want to scale, you will be able to scale. And there is another jargon which I like is fail fast, means try and see if it is working, and because it's very important you test your things, so that test, move ahead, it will be scalable methodology. I think everybody learns from that, make mistake and learn and move ahead.
Good. I would say, understand the data, understand your customer needs, and then 95% of the problem is already sorted out for you. Right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being such a sport and answering our questions. Thank you all.